NWSL are looking to expand even more in the near future. Where will the new teams land? And did Diego Luna just become an American soccer icon in January camp? And are American fans truly jaded by high ticket prices? This and more on Friday's Morning Kickaround. Despite Jason laughing at me, hello and welcome to the show. This is Morning Kickaround, where we cover the world's favorite game from the world's most favoritist country, coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Robert Kerr, up from the lower leagues and down in the basement. Happy to be joined by my pre-noon partner, host of SiriusXM FC's afternoon show called WTF. Here's Mr. Jason Davis. How you doing, sir?
The opens are an adventure sometimes, Rob. I mean, it's Friday. Maybe it's a function of that. I don't know. But I'm glad to be here. I'm ready to go. I got some stuff to talk about. I guess
I've been living the college lifestyle, staying up late on a Thursday night. You know, Fridays are the actual beginning of the weekend. What are we doing working here on a Friday morning?
Yeah, we're here. That's good.
We'll see. We will try to land this plane here on Friday morning. But first, let me know what you're wearing. You're looking awfully handsome today.
I think I've rocked this one once or twice on the show already. There's probably some I haven't pulled out. If I wear white, it tends to mess with the camera, so I don't wear the white ones very often. And I have a couple of those. This is Tulsa. This is my Tulsa shirt. You can see when I turn and the light doesn't hit it directly with the gold badge. You can see that's a Matthew Wolf badge. I mentioned this USL Championship right there. The Puma shirts. This is what I'll say about Puma, and people in the chat probably know what I'm talking about here. Puma, they like to make it tight. Pumas run small, if you know what I'm saying, and it's not too tight on me. I'm actually in decent shape these days, but I'm just saying, this is a different feel than some of the other jerseys I have.
Someone would say you look swole in that shirt, Jason. You're looking, good shoulders, good, muscly neck. It's looking good. I'm impressed.
I'm putting the work in. Yeah,
I need to start doing makeup or something, looking a little tidier here. We got a haves and a have-nots with the split screen going on right here, but nonetheless, I'm excited. We have blasted through the 600 subscriber level, and couldn't be happier about that. And there's another new success or a level to tell you about. You can now directly assist the show. We have a Ko-Fi account. Is it Ko-fi or Ko-Fi? We'll see, but you can buy us
It's either coffee, because it used to be Buy Me a Coffee, or it's Ko-Fi, because it looks like Ko-Fi, like Wi-Fi, or it's Ko-Fi. That doesn't sound good. I don't like Ko-Fi. That's terrible.
It has a cacophony of names, but you can help us directly by donating now on the YouTube channel. Go to Morning Kickaround, and after you click the subscribe button, you can feel free to chip in any amount you'd like to help support the show. Time, energy, subscriptions to creative platforms and hosting platforms and all that stuff. That all, has a bit of an expense.
Support the coverage. There are lots of people out there doing independent coverage, and this has been obviously a story for us in the last week. We've got a video up on the channel about the demise of Extra Time Radio, Major League Soccer Extra Time. I think they took the radio off a long time ago, but Extra Time, the podcast for Major League Soccer run by the league, they've killed that. That has led to a lot of people to say, hey, go support independent coverage, go support Soccer Wise, go support the Total Soccer Show, go support, whatever. And now we're here on the scene. And if you have a little bit extra and you want to support us, we would be grateful for that.
Indeed do. I do agree. Go over there and check that out, and feel free to donate. Before we get into our long balls, another reminder, hit the subscribe button on the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel and follow along on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. But enough of all that. Let's get into Friday's headlines. Let's kick our long balls here on Morning Kickaround. Long balls here Friday morning, January 24th. We are in the bowels of winter here. My dog this morning did a teapot impression this morning, but we want to move past that into some expansion news, not the gross kind, but we are getting into NWSL expansion teased by Commissioner Jessica Berman yesterday that more announcements are on the way. Just where will the next teams be announced? There's 14 playing in 2025. We already heard about Boss Nation. We already heard about mysterious NWSL Denver. Where will we be going next, and how much will it cost, Jason?
I don't. I'm still confused by the teapot thing. I don't even know. I don't even.
So it's very, very cold, and the first thing in the morning, what do you do when you wake up? And the dog goes outside, right? So
okay, all right.
On these days, deep January into February, the dogs do a teapot impression.
Okay, all right. The dogs do a teapot impression. The NWSL is expanding.
Those things unrelated. I wanted to move from one to the other. My apologies.
All right. Okay. We do know that Denver's coming, right? Denver's on its way. $110 million Denver will pay to enter NWSL. And that's obviously been heralded as a big step forward for the league. This is double the last fee paid by an expansion team. What does this mean? Obviously, I think we brought up the possibility of some bubble-icious elements to the expansion plan. That certainly has been levied at Major League Soccer, that their expansion strategy, it's largely about bringing money in from new investors to pay back the old investors. And there's words for those things. I think pyramid scheme is a word that people will use. There's other ones. Ponzi. Does Ponzi come up? I read about the Ponzi guy.
It's not a pyramid scheme. It's just a reward to early investors. That's all.
I mean, yeah, obviously this is all public. None of these investors are being lied to like Bernie Madoff lied to his investors. So it's not like that. But I do get that there's some element of this is a bubble. It can't be real. It's all going to collapse. Everything is going to be bad one day. And I don't necessarily think that's happening anytime soon. The NWSL has made some good decisions and moved in the right direction on some level. Jessica Berman is splitting opinion a bit among NWSL fans for some of her handling of the San Diego situation and things like that. But there's obviously good stuff here. Now, in terms of more expansion, and NWSL Denver will be the 16th NWSL team, if I'm counting correctly, right? So at this point, do you feel like it's important for them to leave the carrot out there? Right. So this can be two things. It can be we have a plan. We have to expand. We're going to do that. Or it can simply be leaving the door open for other bids to come in. Because why would you close yourself off? Like Major League Soccer's up to 30 teams. I think that's too big. I don't like it from a soccer perspective, but I get it from a national footprint perspective. And the NWSL thinks the same way. They have to think the same way all these other professional sports leagues do. So for them, 16 is not the number. 18 is probably not the number. 20 could be the number, but I bet they passed 20 eventually, just like Major League Soccer did. The quote here from Berman: "We know that our expansion is not done. Part of the effort in the next 3 to 6 months is really developing our next expansion strategy. We want to be aggressive with expansion, but we also want to be strategic and smart about how we do that. And we want to do all the things at the same time, Robert. It's like we want to do super crazy stuff, but we want to be smart about it." I love that. I love that framing.
It's all about a balanced approach, you go out way too late on a Thursday night, but you wake up extra early, take a shower, and you try to, get it level. You take the wild flyer on maybe, like you said, bubblicious activities. But so are you saying that maybe the safe approach is not actually true? Is that what you're insinuating? Or they are going for the wild expansion, like striking while the iron is hot? And
well, I mean, that's what it is, right? By the way, it's 14 active teams now with Boston and Denver coming. So that's 16 franchises. And then again, you look at the map and you think about where NWSL teams are located, and you realize there are still places, there are still cities. I mean, Cleveland was interested and close, and by the way, they don't have a men's team, so
and they're building a stadium there.
think about how much more oxygen there is for an NWSL team in a Cleveland as opposed to a team in a market that already has a men's team. You know, I don't know that I can say fairly to any business like the NWSL, hey, hold on, whoa, what are you doing? Why are you going so fast? What are you thinking about? Now, there's a talent issue, right? You have to fill these teams up with good players. So the league is going to have to be aggressive on spending because this is not a closed shop anymore. It used to be the NWSL was probably going to get the pick of players, certainly American players. But as we're witnessing with Naomi Girma, as we're hearing about the possibility of Trinity Rodman maybe going somewhere, there are now attractive options in Europe for players of all stripes, all backgrounds. And I think NWSL can remain an elite women's soccer league, but if they go too fast on expansion as they're trying to fill, then the quality of the product suffers, and you certainly don't want that.
And would this also be, just one more point on this, would this also be in kind of combating the USL Women's League from maybe getting into these cities too? Like, hey, you know, maybe we'll expand a little bit more because they were showing some interest in our competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have not privy to how the NWSL thinks about the USL Super League. That is still new, and I think still, I mean, obviously it's new, but it's still gaining traction. I don't know. I don't know if they see it as a true competitor or just this notion of, well, there is somebody else on the scene, and we don't want to lose out to them. And yeah, I mean, you know, what they have to do is be smart about their own growth while being conscious of, I guess, a mild threat posed by the USL. I want to believe that those two leagues can coexist, by the way. But it does feel like you're distracting fans. And I don't blame the USL for having a league, but this is sort of the notion. This is what we've talked about recently with the NASL lawsuit against U.S. soccer and some of the issues that American soccer has in leagues being first, populating the country with their teams, and being competing businesses in a way that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. That's part of the problem.
We shall see what happens there. Moving along, long ball number 2 here on Friday, January 24th. Looking across the land, we will talk about what happened here domestically with the United States men's national team and Diego Luna and the iconic image that was produced from that. But looking overseas, there was a very busy Champions League. A lot of Americans in action. There's also plenty to come at the weekend. But I just want to note that, Cameron Carter Victors, Austin Trusty, they were a little beleaguered, and we have not necessarily had glowing things to say with them at Celtic. But I think it is worth noting that they did contribute to a big win, Celtic winning 1-0. Versus Young Boys. Yunus Musa, the lone American for AC Milan, got the win over Girona. Tim Weah played 66 minutes. Weston McKennie only got 14. Kind of a mixed bag. Nothing too spectacular. What was your main takeaway from...
Pulisic played. That's the main takeaway. Pulisic played.
Did he?
Did he play a lot? No. Did he do anything that really helped Milan in that game? No, but he played. And that's quality. I mean, that's the step that we're talking about getting back to. You know, he has to be healthy to be on the field. And there was some concern like, hey, you know, he's out again. Are we going to see Christian Pulisic miss long stretches of time? It's 15 minutes in a 1-0 game where Rafael Leao finds the winner. It's progress. And this round of the Champions League, it's all that really matters. And obviously we've got the final day of the Champions League coming up next week, where there will be 18 simultaneous kickoffs, and that's going to be crazy, and there's still so much to play for. Only, I think, Liverpool, Barcelona are locked into a top 8 spot at this point. Sure. We don't know if, City's got Club Brugge at the Etihad. Should they be able? They should be able to handle that. They should be into the top 24, but to see them sitting in 25th right now is still stunning. And then you got PSG, who obviously beat City. Can they find a way to beat Stuttgart and be sure of their place? These are big clubs who are up against it in the Champions League.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. We were all fearing the worst when Pulisic went down. So the fact that he's edging back into the team is pretty great. Just a bit of a contusion, nothing crazy. So maybe looking ahead at the weekend, Anthony Robinson, we've talked about him a few times. He is in the form of his career. Robinson, Jedi, and your Fulham head, or actually are hosting Manchester United on the Sunday. United famously not on a good run of form. Fulham, they've been giving up some leads. What do you think of the Cottagers against the Devils?
Okay, so United beats Rangers with the Bruno Fernandes goal in added time after giving up the equalizer just before the 90-minute mark. And, that performance wasn't great. And there were more reasons for United fans to be calling for Amorim to go already. And then they find the winner. It's a great ball. It's a great goal. They find the winner, and now everything is right or better with the world. I don't think anybody is convinced that things have turned around completely. And it is, let's remember, it is Rangers. And I don't mean that as disrespect to Scottish football. I'm just saying that's not the level that you would measure a return to form for Manchester United by. I don't know that Fulham is necessarily that level either, although that's a solid mid-table team that can beat you on their day. I'm actually relatively confident that Fulham's going to get something out of this game, Rob. I am. Whatever happened in the Europa League yesterday, United is still a messy mess, and Fulham is not. And they have some issues recently. The giving up goals to West Ham was not fun, but there is still reason to think that Fulham can do something in this game, and Jedi Robinson will be a big part of that.
Do you miss Tim Ream being on your team?
Do I miss it? No, I don't think so. I mean, he had a good long run at Fulham. I don't need an American at Fulham to root for Fulham, to support Fulham. But it's nice. It is nice.
Yeah, there's Fulham sitting 3 points, 3 places, and 7 points ahead of Manchester United. That can't have happened too many times in any timeline. Alternate. I mean, especially this far into a season.
Famously, Amorim called this the worst Manchester United team of all time, and then said, well, actually, what I was talking about is I'm a bad manager. The players aren't the problem, because he probably walked into a dressing room and got some icy stares and realized, whoops, I may be damaging my credibility with my guys here, and I don't have much to begin with. They're not the worst Manchester United team of all time. Manchester United's history goes really, really deep. I just saw that Jonathan Wilson wrote up a story about in 1933, they went to the final day of the season to avoid relegation to the 3rd division. So Ruben Amorim's team is not the worst Manchester United team of all time.
It doesn't bring me too much pleasure to hear commentators say that maybe United were only really good in 2 different eras, the Busby era and the Ferguson era, and they've been just, a standard Division 1 team for the most part outside of those 2 eras. I mean, it only brings me a little bit of pleasure hearing people talk about that.
All right.
Other Americans abroad to look forward to at the weekend. I'm enjoying Tyler Adams and Bournemouth's great form in the last few weeks, and Bournemouth having a great season. They are hosting an even hotter Nottingham Forest on Saturday. Talk about 2 teams overperforming. The Nottingham Forest, being in the top 3 or 4 has brought a lot of people, reminiscing of the Leicester run. But Tyler Adams, can he continue to stack up 90-minute performances? Or I know you've been like, whatever, let's just keep him healthy and all that. But it's been pretty nice to see him and like kind of get to know him on the field a little bit better, getting more performances, just like the mystery that is Tyler Adams.
No, but I think Iriela has done this perfectly. He reintegrated Tyler Adams poco a poco, little by little. He got a start, then he would rest, and then he would play, and then he would rest. I think Tyler Adams is 100% in ink on the team sheet for Bournemouth at this point. I think Iriela sees what he brings defensively, and if you're especially when you're playing against a team like Nottingham Forest, how does Nottingham Forest beat you, Robert? They defend and then they hit in the counter, or they use Chris Wood to find goals. So there's obviously a reason to play Adams in this game, to be that shield. So I expect him to play, and I expect him to play well, and I think this could be a big moment for Bournemouth, and it could start the slow decline of Forest's season. And I don't mean that I'm not rooting for them to do something. Like it's remarkable, and who wouldn't want the underdog to show up some of the big boys and have us and finish in the top four and have a Champions League season no one could have predicted. But I don't think Forest really has that staying power.
No? Well, we shall see. Still plenty of season left, and we shall check in to see how our Americans did abroad on Monday. Third long ball of the day. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but the new Champions League format, we've been getting used to it, the pinnacle of club world soccer. But we'll see. It's had some slow moments, especially the first couple of weeks of this new format of just playing 8 games in a giant table rather than playing in a group. But next week on Wednesday, 18 games played simultaneously in the Champions League. Still a lot to play for. Do you think that next Wednesday could make this shift to the more games and the giant table? Could the madness be worth it come Wednesday?
The madness is not worth it so far? Is that your implication
here?
Well,
okay, so far, it seems like the group, there used to be more familiarity. You play the same 3 teams twice, so it's very much a strategic sort of a thing. Like, we played them once, and we need to make these adjustments to get the result in the return leg. But the league play is just kind of 7 random opponents, seemingly, and then now there's a whole lot of teams competing for the promotion or the advanced places. It seems a little bit more random. And do you think that next week's excitement on Wednesday will prove this extra game open league format? Do you think it'll be worth it come the madness on Wednesday?
No, I think it's already been worth it. I mean, you call it random. I don't think it's random. I mean, it is sort of a random draw in the sense that it's
not balanced and even or whatever. I grant the old groupings never used to be exactly even, obviously, but not everyone's playing the same teams now.
I don't think you can. There's no such thing as 100% fair fixture list or schedule or balance across an entire competition when you're talking about now it's 36 teams and the number of teams it was before. It's impossible. This notion, this is why it's funny that we get so wrapped up in this country sometimes about single table versus playoffs, because people are, oh, single table, that's a true reflection because you play everybody home and away. Yeah, sure, that is a fair statement. That's a true statement. But, injuries happen, international breaks happen, coaching changes, everything. There are so many variables in the mix that to imagine that that everybody has the exact same challenge is ridiculous. It's not the same challenge. Sometimes the team you play in October is very different than the team you play in March. And what if somebody goes out and spend £100 million on a player in January? That player is now in the lineup. The team you saw in October has that player now. Oh, they're totally different. Like that, those things it's impossible. I'm not saying it's not worth doing, or it's not the best option. It might be the best option, but this is true for the Champions League too. And I don't know that I was one of those people clamoring for an end to the group stage. Like, we need to do something else. This is getting boring and tired. I had become accustomed to it. And I think most soccer fans have become accustomed to it. And we thought, you know what? This is fine. This the way we do it is fine. This is just the way you do. Once you do something often enough, it becomes tradition. And tradition forgives a ton of things. It's just a tradition that we do this every year. Oh, that's a terrible thing. Why do you do that? Tradition.
That's how the English culture survives. It's just, why do we do any of these things? Why do we spell things this way? Tradition.
Right. Exactly. Why do you do a thing that actually hurts you in the long run? Because of tradition. So in this case, I wasn't clamoring for it, but what I will, and I definitely have a cynical take that this was UEFA trying to undercut the Super League idea by switching their format so that there was more of a vibe of a league, a Super League, so to speak. But I'm having fun with this. I think it is remarkably interesting how teams good, big clubs are struggling to deal with the rhythms that this has presented. Now, again, if you go look at schedule strength, there is an argument that some teams got way tougher 8-game sets than other teams. Yeah, and again, that's something I think people could sort of justifiably point to as to why certain teams are struggling and how it's kind of unfair or whatever. But UEFA's trying to mix it up. There is certainly a lot of drama here. From an entertainment perspective, Rob, I have no issue with this. Again, I don't know how we're possibly going to be able to follow 18 games at the same time next week, but it's going to be one of the great moments in modern sports history that this is all happening at the same time. There's nothing like it. Like, there are one-off games, Super Bowl, Champions League finals, those kind of things. But to have something like this, I compared it to the NCAA basketball tournament. But it's not even that, because those games are staggered and they're happening all over the country. And, I don't know. It's fascinating. We're going to see what this brings, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
Do you think that the host of the Galazzo show head is actually going to explode? Because they have their work cut out for them when they're covering like 6-8 games at the same time, and and the NFL Red Zone had like the Octabox where they show like 8 different teams on the screen. How do you possibly get all this? Would they have? I wonder if they'll have multiple channels with like 8 viewing panes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're handling this. Nico Cantor got married and was not available for this last round, and so Chris Whittingham, I'd call a friend of mine, Chris Whittingham. You know him from Apple TV, calls MLS games, formerly of the Dan Le Batard show. The guy who once said a player got hit in the penis. That's Chris Whittingham, if you're wondering who that is. So he was doing the whip around the Galazzo show. It's a tough job. Like, I've never done it, but I know live stuff and certainly live TV, where you can't hide. Like on the radio, if I screw up, you're not seeing my face as I feel like, oh no, I'm the worst. If you screw up on live television, everybody sees you as you screw up on live television. I hope they give Nico or Chris or whoever's in that chair a lot of help. I just can't imagine. And maybe it's not even really, maybe you just don't do the same Galazzo approach. Maybe you just bounce without narration, just bounce from game to game to game somehow, because I don't even know.
I mean, just go, just keep cutting. The director is just pushing it all.
I mean, here's a goal, here's a goal, here's a goal, here's. I mean, that the reason that there, and then Chris in this case and Nico normally are guiding us. Oh, let's go to Girona, where Girona's facing off against whoever, and here's a goal or whatever. And then sometimes they'll just be cuts to various games when no goals are happening. We're caught up on goals, so let's just go to a game, and then there's a couple of minutes of listening in on that game. And then they have who's in the other chair there with him giving the analysis. I'm going to blank on it. My apologies.
He's got a hyphenated last name, English guy. He used to play for QPR with Sean Wright Phillips. Nigel Reo-Coker.
Nigel Reo-Coker. There you go. Thank you very much. See, I knew you would get there eventually because I couldn't remember Nigel's name.
Before we have to move on, though, I do want to highlight that there's about 8 teams that could slide in or out of the next round here. And I got to say, next Wednesday's game, Manchester City might be the most highly interested, most interest in a Club Bruges game that there's probably ever been. Man City taking on Club Bruges, and Bruges could fall out, or Brugge, whatever, however you say it. It could fall out if it's Manchester City beat them. So that's probably the highlight. But I mean, there's countless possibilities to what happens next Wednesday. What do you think? Can the Belgian side, provide another shock? I mean, they are 5 places higher, but just only 3 points ahead of Manchester City. Is the Manchester City, downfall finalized by falling out of the Champions League next week?
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of people who dine on Schadenfreude when it comes to Manchester City, who would be happy to see them miss out on the next round of the Champions League, and then would certainly mark that as a moment that is a marker of their decline, I guess. We don't know about the charges that whether they're going to be any punishment for City. They just spent, I think, 126 million pounds in the January transfer window, so they don't seem to be too bothered by the possibility that they could be hit with a big penalty and maybe even be sent down a division. That doesn't seem to be a thing right now. I think that the smart money is on Manchester City seeing off Club Brugge in Manchester and making it into the next round. But the fascinating part after that is who they draw in the playoff round, because you have to play home and away before you go into the round of 16, because the top 8 qualify automatically, and then we get the other 8 from those teams that are in 9 to 24 in the table. Look, I think Brugge is capable, and they've shown that they're not pushovers in this tournament. They've only scored 6 goals in 7 games, though. And so, it's really hard to imagine, unless they just lock things down and hold Manchester City to a 0-0. It's really hard to imagine Brugge doing a ton to slow down City's attack. So, but City hasn't won in the Champions League since October 23rd when they beat Sparta Prague 5-0. So
that really is insane when you just like spell out just what is happening to Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. And I got to say, point this out. We didn't really talk about the 9.5-year contract extension for Erling Haaland. And I remember there was one of the venerable hosts on your radio stations was saying that Erling Haaland looked like the least loyal player he had seen. And that just like blew me away, just to have like 2 weeks later sign an nearly unprecedented length of a contract, but that's wild. We shall see what happens in Champions League match day 8 next Wednesday. Looking like it is an unprecedented Champions League day next week. Be sure to click on the subscribe button if you haven't already. We are on the path to 1,000 subscribers. Once we hit that, a whole nother level opens up to us on the YouTube platform. Also on our YouTube homepage, a link to our brand new Ko-Fi link where you can donate to the show and help contribute to the program. You can buy us a coffee or help us, just cover some of the costs of taking care of this show and producing this show. So click on the morning Kickaround subscribe button, and then if you want to contribute to the show, follow the Ko-Fi link. Follow along on social media at mkickaround. We are on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Thanks for all the follows. The follows have been jumping up there on Blue Sky as well. Or you can write us a note, an email, morningkickaround@gmail.com. All right, we're going to take a sip of our coffees and come right back with today's hot topic. Hot topic here on Friday. We just concluded an installation of January Camp 2025. And there's been a lot of conversation of, should we even do the January Camp anymore? But in the final game of January Camp, we might have got one of the most iconic images of the United States men's national team. And with that, did Diego Luna become a people's champ, an icon of American soccer on Wednesday?
It's not just the image. Okay, here's the image. And I got to throw up some stats here from FOTMob on Diego's night. He only played a half because look at his face. He only played a half of soccer because look at his face. He posted that social media after the game. Yeah, he took a shot. He broke his nose. They shoved some gauze up his nose. He then went back on the field, immediately made a pass to Spring Brian White for the first goal for the United States in the 21st minute. And this is the kind of stuff that gets you cult hero, people's champion type of status, right? Like it is that. And then to go along with that moment and that picture, and this is Mauricio Pochettino after the game talking to the crew from TNT, Robert. Do you want to hear this?
Yeah, this might be the true arrival of Pochettino too, right?
That's something we're talking about too, but here we go.
So Luna came over to you and he's bleeding from the nose and they're resetting his nose. What did he say to you about wanting to stay in the game? What did you say to him?
I was very surprised because it was broke the nose. No?
Yeah,
nose. I was like, but I didn't want to say nothing, too much drama, because it was bleeding.
You don't want to scare him.
No, I wanted to scare. But he said, "How you feel?" I said, "No, I can't. Please, coach, let me to keep playing because at least after in the halftime I go out, Doctor, give me the okay.
Big personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, the doctor said, yeah, okay, you go in. And the first action, assist, and we score. I said, big balls.
There's the big balls moment, Robert, from Mauricio Pochettino on television. Yeah, I mean, he's a personable guy, right? And I was talking to my friend Jared Dubois on the Best Soccer Show last night, and he said, could you imagine any other U.S. men's national team coach having that moment? and I'm not sure I can.
Can we
I
get an
can
AI
imagine-
generation of Greg Berhalter with and insert that dialogue and see what it sounds like coming out of Triple G's mouth?
But here's what I think about it, though. It's so Bruce Arena could say something like that, but it wouldn't come off in this kind of like
Lovable
like
way. It'd be more
happy-go-lucky.
abrasive. More abrasive.
Yeah, it would be a joke, but it would be a joke that you chuckle at rather than kind of like, oh, I'm sharing a moment, because Bruce wouldn't be chuckling about. He'd say, oh, he's got big balls, and then we just move on. Bob Bradley might say it. He is a Jersey guy after all, but again, it would be this gruff like, oh, this guy's got big balls, and then we move on. And then Greg Berhalter never, not in a million years, not in a million years. And I also think that it is one of those things too, where because Pochettino is speaking his second language, it's a little bit more endearing that he says it, right?
He's poking around. He's trying to find the right words.
Yeah, he might say something, and I learned a word last night, an Argentine word last night for something like this. I've been told it gets used in all these various ways. It's sort of like I think it's a swear word. I think it's not something if I was in polite company in Argentina, I would say. But since we're an American soccer show, and I know some people speak Spanish, but maybe people don't. I think it's okay to say boludo. So boludo is the word that I learned last night. It kind of means this vibe, like a person with big balls. And he's saying Diego Luna has it. And this is the kind of thing. Now, is this justification for continuing doing the January camp just because Diego Luna had this moment in half a game against Costa Rica? Yeah, I don't know about that. But I think it's going to be fun to watch Diego Luna get attention, because I think, he's not quite a finished product player. He's 21 years old. I don't know what his European future might be. I think it's kind of a hard sell. Could you imagine him playing in Mexico? Absolutely. In Europe, it's a little bit tougher to know where he would fit. And I don't know that I'm like, oh, he's going to be a World Cup player. But clearly, he impressed Mauricio Pochettino last night, not just with his play, but with his toughness. And this is what Pochettino's brought, a renewed mentality that winning is the most important thing. Right? Now, Berhalter would talk about winning. He would give lip service to winning. But we had a lot of things about the performance or the way that the United States played, rather than the actual result. And because there was so much focus on how they played, results suffered, and then there were no results to talk about. Whereas Pochettino has recentered us, and Argentines are notorious for being incredible competitors, right? So if there's something that he has in common with us that he can meet with us on, it's this idea like you go and go and go, and you don't quit, and you do everything you can to win the game. And Diego Luna showed that last night.
At the opening of January camp, I believe it was, Pochettino said he wanted players that had desperation to play for the United States men's national team. That might have been part of a dual national conversation too, a little bit, but the desperation to play was shown by Diego Luna. To insist on that. And imagine if, maybe Pochettino, was like, no, you need to come off the field. He doesn't have that moment. Medical team doesn't allow him off. And then also there was a moment where we got a little worried that we weren't going to see any starts from Diego Luna. He didn't play in the very much in the first game. He obviously didn't go to the Olympics last year, and we were starting to get worried. Is he have any kind of future? Is he even going to be a peripheral figure in the national team? And it's wild how small moments can, it's a sliding door sort of moment. Like if he doesn't then go back on the field, provide that assist, and create that moment, this is maybe us saying, was that Diego Luna's chance gone then?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. Now, he is a perfect avatar for a lot of things about American soccer because of some characteristics that he brings to the table. I mean, first of all, he's Latino, and I think we have brought up this idea. We have kind of created this mentality like, oh, there's all this incredible Latino talent in America, and we're just not taking advantage of it. We're not finding it. We're not identifying it. That could be true on some level. But again, you have Diego Luna who becomes this avatar for, here's a non-prototypical American soccer player. He's short. He's stocky. There was a story by Jeff Carlisle how U.S. soccer coaches initially kind of rejected him at the youth level because they thought he was overweight. And they had to be told, No, he's just barrel-chested. His body type is weird, but don't think he can't play, because he can play. So I think I love that this is kind of creating a focal point for a lot of these things. It also means, though, that we can kind of overrate Diego Luna as we try to justify a conversation about a lot of things he sort of represents. Right. So I think that kind of keeping our focus and being realistic about how good Diego Luna is might be tough, but he also does perform. Right. And so because he's in Major League Soccer, we don't have just unimpeachable data that he can perform at a level to be a national team player. We don't know that yet. We've seen him in this moment take his chance. And as you said, that's a step, right? That's a sliding doors moment. Something is happening here that could lead him down that path. And I hope that Pochettino now, as an advocate for Diego Luna, is saying, hey, maybe we can get this kid into camps. Maybe we can get this kid to a European destination where he can prove himself, because the pass to Brian White was inch perfect, and he did it breathing out of his mouth. You know?
Yeah, the downfall of January camp, I understand. I've presented those sort of arguments and conversations as why, like, a non-sanctioned FIFA window to pull people out of teams, this and that, it's kind of far-fetched. But at the same time, not only did we have this Diego Luna moment, but we also had the unveiling, or the kind of the coming out party for the Charlotte FC forward Patrick Ajimang. He also scored a very exciting goal, scored in both appearances. He scored on Wednesday in just 15 minutes, and he is going to be joined by Wilfried Zaha in his club team. So he starts the season, the MLS season 2025. He's got, some more, skilled players around him. Is this as I know you said on Wednesday's show, we don't want to get out over our skis, but could he be getting into the mix for the competition?
Well, that's
for
the
number
wrong
9?
question. It's the wrong question. Okay, it's not the wrong question. It's a question. I like what he is. I like his profile. I think there is a possibility. But again, we've been here. We were here with Daryl Dike, right? We've been here with Teal Bunbury at one point. I mean, not that they're the same player, but just this idea that a guy who kind of makes a name for himself in American soccer and in Major League Soccer, and then, he's going to be something. And, DK's problem is injuries. It's not that he's not talented. He hasn't been able to get ahead of steam up because he keeps getting hurt, and I feel for the kid. I hope he's back on the field actually playing real soccer sometime soon.
For sure.
And Ajimang again, there's a lot of things to like about him, but let's not forget that he's a late bloomer, and that can work against him in this moment. Now, we as American soccer fans, he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
We as American soccer fans appreciate a late bloomer, right? We were built on late bloomers. Late bloomers, they built this city. They built this city on their sweat and tears, right? And the college soccer that they played. I mean, talking about Clint Dempsey and Brian McBride, and you could go down the list. Like, those guys who didn't even really become pros until they were 22 or 23, that's our history. But this is a different moment. So
American 24 and European 24 are very different.
Yes, exactly. Well, not anymore. That's the point. Not anymore. They used to be. Again, the other hero of this game is Diego Luna, who's 21 and has already been a pro for, four years? Yeah. Nicholas Murray can tell me, because Diego Luna has played USL, and that's where he got his start. What I was going to say, though, about Ajimang is, again, this is another avatar for sort of American soccer identity, and that is the late bloomer. That is the college soccer player. In this case, a Division III college soccer player who has now a national team cap and two national team caps and 2 national team goals. Keep an eye on him. This is as far as I'm going to go. Keep an eye on him this season. He needs another full year of Major League Soccer. We might be talking about a move for him next January, or it could be the summer of 26. I think that the chances of him breaking into the full national team picture are relatively small, but they're not zero. There is a chance here. I think it would be ideal if Ricardo Pepi is playing consistent minutes at the club level and scoring goals. If Valorant Balogun is playing consistent minutes at the club level and scoring goals. If Josh Sargent is playing consistent minutes at the club level and scoring goals. And if those 3 things are happening, and there are some other names you could throw into this mix, including Daryl Dike, then Ajimang is going to be behind those guys.
Yeah, You're probably right there, but nonetheless, it is exciting to see an American-born player banging in some goals and putting their name into the fray, and maybe just adding another competitor into the American goal scorers list to give Brian White a run for his money as the top-scoring American MLS player here in 2025, perhaps. Moving on, though, we have just over 600 Morning Kickaround subscribers. Join the MK Ultras and subscribe to the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel. There on the page, you can click and donate to our brand new Ko-Fi link. There you can buy us a coffee or donate to the show at whatever rate you would like. Help support the show. There's plenty of overhead and stuff like that and all that to keep this show going. And so support and contribute. That would be great. Like and subscribe to the channel while you're there. Follow us on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And we'll do our best to put that Ko-Fi link on those platforms as well. Or write us an email. Still looking for those Get to Know Your District submissions. We had a couple hints around the edges, but we still need some more of those. Some good off-season content. Taking a look at all the districts featuring a lot of soccer here in the United States, not just in the ones we already know about. All right, we're going to come right back with segment 3. We're going to take a breath, come right back and hit you with today's Culture Wars here. Friday, January 24th. I couldn't even get out the full name of the segment. It is Culture Wars, where we discuss kind of like the inner tumultuous relationships we have in American soccer in a relation to the world. And today we kind of want to talk about ticket prices and kind of how Americans deal with them compared to those overseas. Jason, are American fans jaded by high ticket prices?
All right, so you're asking this question because Pablo Maurer wrote at The Athletic this story: Club World Cup ticket prices sky high for global fans, normal for jaded U.S. market. I got a little bit of the copy here because it identifies it. It illuminates us on what those prices are looking like for the Club World Cup that is coming to America this summer. The prices are eye-watering. Want to watch Inter Miami versus Al Ahly of Egypt in the tournament opener? A view from the pigeon seats at Miami's Hard Rock Stadium will cost you $230. Get a hair closer to the field and the prices rapidly increase. $600, $700. FIFA has partnered with Ticketmaster to hawk tickets for this tournament, and on the website's official resale market, prices are already north of $1,000. Things will get progressively worse as the tournament enters the knockout rounds, according to a now-deleted post on German competitor Bayern Munich's website. Tickets in the lower bowl of the stadium will start at $214 for the round of 16, increasing to nearly $500 for the quarterfinals, around $1,000 for the semis, and an astounding $2,230 for the tournament final. And so I guess, okay, those are incredibly high prices, right? And when I saw Pablo and some other people commenting on these prices on Blue Sky, I simply replied, we're being milked. I mean, I hate that visual. It's a terrible visual, Robert. I have
thousands of men across this country getting milked. That's a bad visual.
Right. I have Robert De Niro in my head is what I've got from Meet the Parents. It is ridiculous that FIFA thinks they can pitch their tent here, and this is going to happen for the World Cup in 26. Right, and part of Pablo's story it references the ticket prices for the 1994 World Cup, and obviously inflation is a factor here. But he was talking about how you could go to the Rose Bowl and watch USA Colombia for $25 American. $25 American back in '94, and here we are.
Yeah, my dad bought all the tickets to the Silver Dome. He bought a family of 4, all three games to that, and it was no big deal. $25 out the door, and it's the most attended World Cup still.
Yes, it is. It is the most attended World Cup, and I imagine FIFA thinks they're going to break that record, and there's going to be, lots of people lining up to buy the tickets that are on offer for Americans in 2026. I just the jaded part of this. I guess I would need to talk to more people I mean, jaded implies that we've accepted it as normal. We don't like it, but we've accepted it as normal. And I always have a problem with European clubs coming over for preseason tournaments and people paying $500 to go see players with number 96 on their back play for Liverpool. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But Americans keep doing it. And so if we keep doing it, FIFA and UEFA and the clubs, and they'll keep bringing their tournaments here, and they'll keep doing this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm still angry about it. I'm not jaded by it. I still think it's insane that we're doing this, Robert, but I don't know, as long as FIFA sees a way. And by the way, it's also worth mentioning, and Pablo writes this in his piece, there's adaptive pricing. You know, they're using AI to decide what ticket prices are at any given moment to maximize return, because they're basically like, well, in this moment, if we jack it by $25, people are still going to buy it. Let's do. Their ticket prices are not going to be static at $1,000 for this seat or $500 for that. They're going to move probably higher.
So just to give an example, say Neymar lands on one of the Club World Cup teams and interest is through the roof to go watch one of their games. That price could go from $500 to $600 depending on the interest. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's just interest. I mean, I do. Yes, of course. Supply and demand is the major driver
rather than interest.
Well, but no, that's you're saying interest. I know you mean demand. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that that's it though. There's some psychological stuff at play here, right? This marketing's always been about psychology, but in this case, it could simply be, at 5:00 Eastern time when people are tired and getting off of work, we can jack prices up because they might not be thinking as straight. Like that, I'm talking about being that cynical and dystopian about ticket prices. I mean, I don't have the underlying architecture of the adaptive pricing model to tell you that that's exactly what that model is doing. But that's the kind of thing they will try to exploit, right? That there is something to be said for, well, what we're doing here is smart business. Now, I'm going to bring in a comment from Nicholas Murray. There's an element here that high ticket prices are seen as a good thing, especially in sports business media, and the fact fans will pay four figures to get into the game is actually good. That's the problem, right? Is that we on one side have the fans who are like, please see my team play? Can I see an interesting game in the Club World Cup for a reasonable price? Can I take my family? And FIFA is like, no. If you want to go, it's $500, $600, $800 a ticket. And if you got a family of four, that's double your mortgage. That you're really going to have to go in. And you know what? If you don't buy them, somebody else will. Right. And because again,
that's that double-edged sword of capitalism, right?
And because what Nicholas is saying is because of that, then FIFA and UEFA and the clubs and whoever is in organizing anything, any tournament, obviously La Liga and relevant sports and all of those things, they will say more games in America, more games in America, more games in America. So we have this thing where it's like, we want more games. Right? Pablo's lead talks about going back and looking at issues of Soccer America in like 1993, and everything's about when will soccer make it in America? When will we have big-time soccer in America? And you fast forward to 2025, and here we are. We've got a lot of big-time soccer happening in America, but is it the way we wanted it to happen? Does it feel good the way that we're being milked and exploited? Because that's what's going on here.
Yeah, did soccer get big time? Well, I mean, the big time teams from across the land see the big pocketbooks at the very least, and it does suck to be viewed as that. And it's like, we need to fill the coffers. Let's do an American tour. That's not a good place to feel. And also, it's starting to become a tourism thing. There's been plenty of ink spilled talking about how a lot of Premier League venues are becoming, less atmospheric because there's a lot more foreign tourists. So not only, and the prices are going up to accommodate the people that are willing to travel halfway across the planet to go to their games. So not only is it here for us, and it's also pushing out the locals, and we're getting charged if we went to view it, on location overseas as well.
So this is another thing that works against the true establishment of American soccer, or soccer in America, the way that you and I and most soccer fans and everybody watching want it to work, which is that we want it to be a game accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
We want this to be the people's game, the way it's been the people's game in all of those other countries that we are jealous of because of their soccer cultures and because of their leagues and their success and their players. So at this point in history, in late stage capitalism, are we in a spot where we can even do that? Establish soccer as the people's game when so much of the best versions of soccer are only accessible to people who are willing to lay down thousands and thousands of dollars to see it. Now, you will bring up, after I called you a Euro snob and you took it very personally, that you support your local team down the street in Oakland County. And that we should do that, right? We should all do that. But let's be real about this. The thing that is most attractive, the thing that's going to get people into the tent in the first place is top-level professional soccer. And because of these ticket prices and because of the way things have turned, it is now inaccessible to a lot of people. It is just very difficult for a lot of people to engage with it in that organic way that maybe that window has closed. Maybe your best bet now as a soccer fan is just to stay at home, buy 6 streaming platforms, watch all the games.
Yeah, is soccer fandom just destined to be the people that go there willing to spend the money? They're just props for the TV product, and the main thing is just sitting at home and watching. I mean, that's what it's a whole lot of people. We're already there for a lot of people, and it's progressing down that road.
We do this too, right? Again, I'm going to bring Nicholas in because he's saying very smart things, as he always does. To be sure, this isn't just soccer. How much people are prepared to pay to get into the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, World Series has been a story ever since I moved here in 2000. Nicholas is originally from England. So what he's saying is every year the Super Bowl comes around and we get the story that ticket price, it's $800 for a nosebleed seat to see the Super Bowl, to go to the Super Bowl. And that's portrayed as a sign of the strength of the game, right? The strength of the popularity of the NFL. Same thing for the World Series, although it's slightly different. The World Series, a little bit more local flavor involved in the attendance, right? I mean, those games are happening in the individual cities of the teams that are in it, and you know, Dodger fans are paying money to go see Dodger games, right? The Super Bowl tends to be this more of a tourist event. But I don't like that Johnny Infantino has dollar signs in his eyes when he looks at the United States of America. And that seems to be the only thing he cares about when it comes to American soccer.
Yeah, the FIFA, he's not enforcing their own mandates that they have of every confederation. There's plenty of items that they don't necessarily acknowledge or engage with, but he's definitely willing to engage with the pocketbooks of folks here. And I didn't take it too personally when you call me a Euro snob. I just have a position as a soccer fan and soccer nerd, I could say, that doesn't necessarily fall into those either ors of MLS doesn't necessarily strike all the chords with me as a soccer lover, but also at the same time, to your point, it's this, we want the best for soccer in America, and I want more and more young people to fall in love. And then we're just talking about the ticket prices specifically. If it costs a kid $250 to get into a game, just how many brand new young fans are we bringing in? Is it just the young fan is just he watches it on television? Is that all we want is from a fandom?
I mean, that's not what we should want. I mean, I'm keenly aware that sometimes I sound like an old guy, right? And
never.
I grew up hearing stories about my grandfather sneaking into Fenway when he visited Boston, and and then you read stories about kids who grew up in Brooklyn paying what 25 cents to get into a Dodgers game or whatever. And obviously those are different times. Things change, the world moves on. You can't recapture a past that doesn't exist anymore. But there is absolutely this thing of you're just making it so removed from the people who should have access to it, right? And you shouldn't have to be rolling in disposable income to go see a soccer game, to go see a good soccer game, right? You shouldn't have to. If they're going to bring the Club World Cup here, I mean, I hear this all the time when it comes to U.S. men's national team games, right? Ticket prices are a story there too as well, Robert.
Of course, yeah.
And it has always been this massive criticism of U.S. soccer that ticket prices are so high and it prevents people who might want to see them. And you know, in a country where we sometimes struggle to fill up a stadium to support our men's national team, it's like, why would you make it inaccessible? Why would you, especially, like, think about the Latino kid who's got family in Mexico and he's growing up in the United States and he wants to support the U.S., but he can't go to the game because ticket prices are $150 to go sit at the top of the stadium. Why would you do that? Make some tickets available. Bring down the ticket prices. Fill the stadium up. Generate fans. Think long-term. Think about the long-term future rather than the quick buck. Now, U.S. Soccer has different responsibilities and tensions built into their budgets and all that stuff. And, you know, again, you can justify high ticket prices by using a lot of that rhetoric. But we don't ask the same. We don't demand the same of FIFA when they bring their tournament here. We're not saying, hey, FIFA, why the hell are you making ticket prices so high? Why aren't you making this more accessible? We could grow soccer in America if only you would let people come in the door for $50 or whatever it is. Nobody's doing that. I mean, maybe Pablo Mauer's opening that conversation up, but as he described us, we're jaded, apparently, Rob.
I mean, it's just a shrug of the shoulders, right? I mean, if you don't buy them, it seems pretty evident that someone else will.
Yeah, look at this. I just want to bring this up. Mateo, concessions and parking have exploded along with ticket prices. Goddamn chicken bucket at Yankee Stadium is $30. I went to Yankee Stadium to watch a Red Sox-Yankees game like 7 years ago. It's been a while. I sat way up in one of the top tiers, and I think I paid $30 for 2 beers. For 2. I paid $30 for 2. Now, they were the tall boys, but 2 beers cost me $30 at a Yankees game.
And things have changed in the last 7 years too, so they could well be even more. I think there was one major league team, I think it was like the Phoenix Suns or something, dropped their prices, and a couple others are trying to be conscientious of that.
Oh, Atlanta United did. Atlanta and Uncle Arthur, they dropped all their concession prices. I think that's still a thing. I haven't checked to see if they remained low, but I remember that there was this big story about how Atlanta had slashed their concession prices. Which, yeah, if I'm paying $100 to get in the door, just to get in the door and sit, very far away where I need binoculars to see what's happening on the field, don't charge me $15 for a beer, please.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to Friday's episode of Morning Kickaround. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We are on the march to 1,000. We've been adding quite a few since surpassing 500, so thank you so much for that. While you're on the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel, click on the Ko-Fi link and donate and support the show. Anything you can provide or share with us would mean the world to us, honestly, and help support the show and keep us growing and improving and making the show the best it could possibly be. Follow us along on social media, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. We are at @mkickaround, or write us an email at morningkickaround@gmail.com. Just an extra time here for you before we head out. Spontaneous for you, Mr. Davis. FC Charlotte confirmed the signing of Wilfried Zaha. He's got over 300 appearances and nearly 100 Premier League goals. My question for you, Jason, just a quick one. Do you think this is going to be a successful one? Does Charlotte have the kind of the infrastructure and the metal to be able to contain someone who has fallen out with locker rooms in the past?
I mean, he's a talented player. Obviously, there's no doubt about that. I can't say that I've been keeping my eye on Wilfried Zaha since he left the Premier League in 2023. I guess that was his last season. He's been in Turkey. He's had a loan spell in France. It hasn't been sparkling, and from what I gather, the move was readily accepted by his Turkish side because he was not necessarily very popular there. All right. Well, Dean Smith has got a job then, and hopefully he can wrangle Wilfried Zaha into some good play. Again, with his pedigree, if his head is on straight, he'll score goals in Major League Soccer, and he'll help set up Patrick Agmeng. I'm gonna butcher it. My bad. Patrick Agmeng. Yeah. Gucci Mane. That's who he is now.
We'll see what happens. All right, Friday's been thoroughly kicked. We'll catch you all on Monday. Until then, everybody enjoy your soccer.